Hey, I've been struggling with my English skills, and I was wondering if you could help me. What do you think is the best way to start improving?
Of course, I'd be happy to help. It really depends on what you're most interested in improving first: speaking, reading, writing, or listening.
I think speaking and listening are my weakest areas. I can read okay, but when it comes to talking, I get nervous.
That's completely normal. For speaking, one of the best things to do is practice with others, preferably native speakers or fluent learners.
I don't know many people who are native English speakers. Do you know any good ways to find people to practice with?
You could join a language exchange group or club, either in person or online. There are also apps designed for language exchange where you can connect with people learning your native language who are also fluent in English.
I've heard of language exchange apps. Which ones would you recommend for someone just starting out?
Tandem and HelloTalk are popular language exchange apps. They allow you to chat with people from all over the world who are interested in learning languages. Tandem and HelloTalk are popular language exchange apps. They allow you to chat with people from all over the world who are interested in learning languages.
That sounds interesting. What about online classes or group discussions?
Online classes are a great way to get structured practice. You can also find discussion groups on platforms like Reddit or Facebook, where you can engage with others in English.
I didn't realize there were so many online resources. What about improving listening skills?
Listening to podcasts, watching movies, or listening to music in English can be very helpful. You can start with subtitles or transcripts, then gradually try to understand without them.
Do you have any specific podcasts or movies you'd suggest for beginners? I'm looking for something that isn't too difficult to understand.
For podcasts, you can try ESL Pod or The English We Speak. As for movies, animated films or popular TV sitcoms usually use simpler language.
Thanks, I'll check those out. What about listening to the news? Would that be too challenging?
Listening to the news can be difficult because it often uses formal language and can be fast-paced. However, there are news sites specifically for English learners, like BBC Learning English and VOA Learning English.
That's good to know. What do you think about watching YouTube videos? Would that be helpful for improving English?
Yes, YouTube is a great resource because it has a wide variety of content. You can find educational channels dedicated to teaching English, as well as general interest videos where you can hear conversational English.
I'll explore that too. What about reading? How can I improve my reading skills without feeling overwhelmed?
Start with shorter texts, like news articles or short stories. You can also read books that are specifically designed for English learners, which use simpler vocabulary and sentence structures.
What about graphic novels or comics? Are those good for learning English? I enjoy reading them in my native language.
Yes, graphic novels and comics can be very helpful because the visuals help provide context for the story. They can also be a fun way to learn conversational English and idiomatic expressions.
I'll definitely try that. What about writing? How can I start improving my writing skills?
Writing can be challenging, but the key is to practice regularly. You can keep a journal, write short stories, or even participate in online forums or social media in English.
I like the idea of keeping a journal. How do I avoid making too many grammar mistakes when writing?
Tools like Grammarly can help with grammar and spelling. It's also a good idea to read your writing aloud to catch errors and improve fluency.
That's a useful tip. What other types of writing exercises could I do to improve?
Try writing summaries of articles or stories you've read. This helps with both writing and reading comprehension, as you have to process the information and then explain it in your own words.
That sounds like a good exercise. What about grammar exercises? Are there any resources you'd recommend?
There are websites and apps that focus on grammar, like English Club or Grammar Girl. These can help you practice specific grammar rules and get explanations for common mistakes.
I'll check those out. What about vocabulary? How can I expand my vocabulary in a way that sticks?
Flashcards are a classic method for learning vocabulary. Apps like Anki and Quizlet let you create digital flashcards, and you can review them regularly to reinforce new words.
I like using flashcards. Are there other ways to learn new vocabulary in context?
Reading books or articles on topics that interest you is a great way to learn new words in context. You can also keep a vocabulary notebook to jot down new words and their meanings.
That's a great idea. How do I remember and use the new vocabulary I learn?
Try using new words in your writing or when speaking with others. You can also create example sentences or use words in different contexts to solidify your understanding.
I like the idea of using new words in my conversations. What if I'm not sure if I'm using a word correctly?
You can look up the word in a dictionary to check its definition and usage. Online dictionaries often have example sentences to show how the word is used in context.
That makes sense. What other resources would you recommend for learning and practicing English?
English language learning platforms like Duolingo and Babbel offer structured lessons. For conversation practice, platforms like Conversation Exchange or Italki allow you to connect with tutors or language partners.
I've heard of Duolingo. I'll give it a try. What about more immersive experiences? Do you think traveling to an English-speaking country would help?
Traveling to an English-speaking country can be a great way to immerse yourself in the language and culture. However, it's not always practical, so finding immersive experiences in your own community can also be helpful.
How can I create immersive experiences without traveling? I'd like to practice as much as possible.
Try surrounding yourself with English media, books, movies, music, and news. You can also change your phone and computer settings to English to increase your exposure to the language.
Those are some good ideas. What about practicing English with friends or family? Would that be effective?
Absolutely. Practicing with friends or family who also speak English can be a fun and informal way to improve your skills.
What if my friends or family don't speak English fluently? Would it still be helpful to practice with them?
Yes, it can still be helpful. Even if they're not fluent, practicing together can boost your confidence and provide opportunities to use the language in a supportive environment.
I'm definitely going to try that. How do I stay motivated when learning a language feels challenging?
Set realistic goals and track your progress. Celebrating small achievements and acknowledging improvement can help keep you motivated.
What kind of goals should I set? I want to make sure they're attainable and keep me focused.
Start with manageable goals, like learning a certain number of new words each week or practicing English for a specific amount of time each day. As you gain confidence, you can adjust your goals to be more challenging.
That sounds like a good approach. What about joining a class or hiring a tutor? Do you think that's worth considering?
Start with manageable goals, like learning a certain number of new words each week or practicing English for a specific amount of time each day. As you gain confidence, you can adjust your goals to be more challenging.
That sounds like a good approach. What about joining a class or hiring a tutor? Do you think that's worth considering?
If you prefer a structured approach to learning, classes or tutors can be very helpful. They can provide personalized feedback and guidance to help you improve more quickly.
How do I find a good English class or tutor? I want to make sure it's worth my time and money.
You can look for language schools or community colleges in your area. For online tutors, platforms like Italki or Preply offer a variety of tutors with different specialties and teaching styles.
Thanks for the advice. Are there any other ways I can improve my English that we haven't discussed?
You could join English-focused clubs or groups, like a book club or a public speaking group. This will give you more opportunities to use English in different settings.
I like the idea of joining a book club. What about public speaking groups? Are they good for improving English?
Yes, public speaking groups like Toastmasters can be very helpful for improving speaking skills and building confidence.